12 hours into a shift that wasn't even hers, Elaine Porter saw the last contact point with hands that felt like overcooked spaghetti dipped in too much black coffee and midlife disappointment. The ceiling buzzed above her fluorescent lights that hadn't been replaced since the Obama administration. At 10:42 p.m., she finally got the junior engineer's garbage firmware to compile without crashing. Third time this month, she'd fixed his work while he was probably at home, reheating leftover wings and binge-watching conspiracy documentaries. At the morning stand-up, Greg, the CTO, with a buzz cut so tight it looked sanded on, pointed his coffee mug like a revolver. Time to trim some dead weight, he chuckled. Some of y'all act like we pay you in Red Bull and gratitude. Awkward laughter. Elaine's smile didn't move. It was glued on like a cracked gasket under pressure. She wanted to scream. You mean the deadweight who patched your warehouse automation disaster last month? Or the one fixing everyone's spaghetti code after hours? Instead, she just nodded the way tired women do when they've got bills, no backup, and too much pride. At her desk, she opened her inbox. Subject: Welcome to the Supplier Integration Network. It was real. The distributor she'd quietly pitched at 2 a.m. for 4 straight months had accepted her prototype. Her garage-built sensor, cobbled together from salvaged parts, scrap wire, and 30 years of experience, was going national. Elaine blinked at the screen like it might vanish. Then she laughed, quietly. The kind of laugh you let out when life finally gives you a break instead of a bruise. And hey, since you're still here, if you're part of the 97% who've binged these stories but haven't subscribed yet, come on. You're enjoying the buffet and skipping the tip jar. Click that button. It powers us faster than gas station espresso and keeps these stories hotter than a soldering iron on a shaky table. Anyway, no big speeches. Elaine didn't wear her win like a crown. She was still just Elaine, quiet, sharp, underestimated, and now officially on the map. At 3:47 p.m., while validating sensor tolerances for the 4th time that day, Elaine's phone buzzed again. It was a follow-up email from the distributor. Subject: pilot deployment confirmation. We'll finalize contract details next week. Deployment begins Q3. Congratulations, Elaine. This is big. Her hands shook, not from nerves, but adrenaline. She reread it 3 times, blinking, like the words might rearrange themselves. She didn't know it yet, but in 17 days, that email would tighten like a vice around Greg's entire supply chain. That tiny sensor she built from scrap wire, leftover coffee, and stubbornness, it was about to become the company's heartbeat. But in that moment, she simply closed the tab, exhaled, and returned to soldering someone else's mistake, still invisible, still underestimated. It all unraveled over one stupid misrouted invoice. Friday morning, Elaine walked into the office with her usual armor, an oversized hoodie, a stainless travel mug filled with gas station sludge, and a playlist blasting 80s synth pop, just loud enough to keep burnout at bay. She was halfway through debugging a misfiring protocol when procurement Marlene Clipboard Queen passive aggression artist dropped a manila folder on her desk like it owed her rent. Greg wants to see you now. Inside the folder, an invoice addressed to Porter Tech Solutions, LLC, her name in bold as the contact, from one of their shared suppliers. Elaine blinked. It wasn't supposed to route through that branch. It was a test shipment, non-priority, early. Her stomach dropped. Greg's office smelled like peppermint air freshener and misplaced confidence. He sat behind his desk, chewing on his glasses like it gave him credibility. It didn't. He looked like a raccoon pretending to read tax codes. So he said, tossing the invoice across his desk, "Want to explain why I'm hearing about Porter Tech from a supplier who thinks you are their new distribution partner?" Elaine opened her mouth. Nothing came out. It's a side project. Cleared with legal. No conflict. Different product line. Greg stood slowly sneering. Etsy for engineers. On my clock, Elaine's jaw tightened. It's not Etsy. It's a real pilot, and it's already running. And I never used company time or resources, Elaine added. But Greg wasn't listening. His face was turning the color of expired tomato soup, too orange, too angry. Without another word, he motioned her into the main conference room, where half the engineering team sat with notebooks open, expecting a performance review. Instead, Greg made it a spectacle. "She's been double-dipping," he declared. "Taking advantage of our goodwill while building her little hobby shop on the side? That's what happens when people forget loyalty." The silence was painful. No one met her eyes. A few shifted uncomfortably. One junior dev winced. No one spoke up. Elaine stood there rigid. Shame crept up her spine like static. That slow, aching kind, the kind that soaks into your clothes and lingers behind your ribs. She thought about the late nights fixing code others broke, the projects she resurrected from technical ruin. None of it mattered now, not to Greg, not to this room. By 3 p.m., HR slid her a termination letter, effective immediately. No goodbyes, no warning. Someone from IT handed her a cardboard box containing her favorite coffee mug and a Post-it note that read, "Good luck," in the worst penmanship she'd ever seen. She walked out without ceremony. No thank you. No handshake. Just silence. She sat in her car for 20 minutes staring at the steering wheel like it might explain why everything had collapsed. She didn't cry, but something twisted inside her chest. Sour volcanic pressure. At 4:16 p.m., her phone buzzed. It was Mitch, the distributor rep. Excited to kick things off next week, the message read. The grief didn't vanish. It mutated into something sharper, cleaner. They thought they buried her. Forgot she built systems that could rise from ruin. The first 2 days felt like wading through soup. Not sad movie grief, just stale leftovers and apathy. Elaine slumped on her old couch, still in the same hoodie, surrounded by unopened bills and cooling pizza. Rent was due in 4 days. Her account, $380.47. That Saturday, she opened job boards. Each application felt like betrayal, like duct taping over her soul just to survive. By Sunday, the rage hit. It wasn't loud or cinematic, it crept in while Elaine was scraping melted cheese off a coffee filter because her toaster had shorted out and she refused to eat another cold meal. She glanced around her cramped apartment, the dead succulent on the windowsill, the broken box fan she'd meant to fix since March, the busted vacuum leaning like a failed project in the corner, and something inside her snapped. She laughed. No, she cackled. That unfiltered, mascara-streaking, borderline unhinged kind of laugh that ends with clarity so sharp it cuts through fatigue. She didn't want another job, not another office, not another man with a title and a fragile ego. She wanted success. Cold, precise, unshakable success. Not revenge with fire, but revenge with structure. The kind that walks in quietly and owns the room. She opened her laptop, dusted off an old spreadsheet labeled Project P, Porter Tech Solutions. A someday dream tucked between 1099 invoices and unused vacation plans. At 1:12 a.m., she called Mitch, the distributor contact who used too many buzzwords but always listened. "Mitch, I got fired," she said flatly. Pause. "Damn, that sucks. Was it because of us?" "Sort of," she admitted. More silence. Then, "You still want in? Well, I've got a distributor slot opening next quarter. But if you're serious, I'll talk to legal. We'll fast-track it." "Wait, really? Elaine, you're smart. Your sensor design works. We're tired of duct taping Greg's disaster operation." She looked around. Empty pizza box, broken dream catcher, a stray cat asleep on her porch. "I'm free," she said. Monday came with caffeine and fury. She incorporated Porter Tech Solutions, LLC, between spoonfuls of peanut butter and blaring synth pop. It looks like a typo. Stick around and hit that subscribe button. Because the next move in this story, it's not just a comeback. It's a blueprint. It felt like liberation. She spent 12 hours building the supplier matrix. Greg's entire operation, sensor caps, thermal nodes, sealed modules all ran through just 3 vendors. 2 already routed through Mitch's parent company. All she had to do was lift the pipes, relabel the tags, and insert her name. It felt surgical. She opened a business account, put her last $300 into bulk capacitors. Ate ramen that night on principle, not need. By Thursday, she had her first contract signed. It was a small order, A starter batch. Barely enough to cover half a month's rent. But it had her name on it, her company, her specs, her price. By Friday, she had her first subcontractor, a retired machinist from Lorraine who liked working with weird women doing weird tech stuff. Elaine hadn't smiled that much in months. The fear didn't vanish. It just got buried beneath momentum. Beneath spreadsheets, solder fumes, and midnight Slack pings. She wasn't in the clear yet, but the ground was fresh, and she was planting landmines. The garage was never meant to be an office. Honestly, it wasn't even meant to be a garage. The floor slanted like a drunk trying to hold posture, and her 2007 Civic now lived on the street like a forgotten dog. But by week 2, it had become mission control. Extension cords snaked across the floor like electric vines. Old IKEA shelves groaned under bins labeled 3-pin thermal, glue live, do not touch. Her router sat on a milk crate. Her soldering station perched on a card table that wobbled if you exhaled too hard. Every time she powered it on, the kitchen lights flickered like they were bracing for Judgment Day. But it worked. Elaine was sleeping 4 hours a night max. She'd wake with graph paper creased into her cheek and one arm still under her laptop. Meals were inhaled standing up. Coffee had replaced oxygen. She learned more about industrial tax codes in 5 days than she had during her last 5 years at Greg's company. She rewired her Lifeline by line. Supply chain first. Mitch sent her internal procurement PDFs, normally locked behind NDAs and B2B firewalls labeled just between us. She color-coded every route, every order pattern, every fault line in Greg's system. And what she saw made her whistle. He had no idea how fragile his operation had become. Fender now processed 62% of their core sensors, and Fender had just shifted bulk fulfillment through Mitch's channel, which now meant through her. She didn't block anything, not yet. She made it slow delays, backlogs, confirmations lost in the void, 1,000 professional paper cuts. Then came the DMs. It came on a Tuesday night at 11:37 p.m. The name in her inbox made her sit up straighter. Gabe, the junior engineer she used to mentor. Still a little green, still jumpy around Greg, but brilliant beneath the nerves. Subject line. Don't hate me for this. Attached an Excel file. Elaine opened it, squinting through caffeine haze. Her eyes widened. It was a full projection chart. Every single component dependency Greg's company would hit in the next 6 months, color-coded by urgency. Notes, sourcing contacts, lead times, dates. And at the bottom, they haven't noticed how dependent we are on your lines? Yet. She stared at it, like sacred scripture. Power wasn't just in knowing how to build, it was knowing exactly when things would break. She typed back just one line. You ever want out, call me. I'll make room. From that moment, something shifted. Elaine wasn't hustling for survival anymore. She was engineering a system, a network. Every cold email to a robotics SME turned into a follow-up call. Every late-night invoice from Porter Tech was processed faster than expected. Her LLC, once a paper dream hidden in a Dropbox folder, was now gaining traction fast. Her Google Calendar started to look like a space shuttle launch log meetings, deliveries, 4 a.m. QA calls with warehouse testers. She even got invited to an industry Slack group she'd been quietly blacklisted from back in the Greg days. People wanted to listen now. Every time Greg's name came up, it was followed by a sigh or a muttered curse. He's not doing well. Elaine never gloated. Not out loud. But she did print Gabe's spreadsheet and tape it to the garage wall right next to a sticky note she'd scribbled during a sleepless fit. Strategy is just anger with blueprints. The garage smelled like solder and warm printer ink. Outside, a car alarm wailed. Nobody cared. Inside, Elaine just kept building. At 6:42 a.m., her inbox pinged. A note from a tire procurement analyst. Subject, Vendor Consolidation Initiative, Q2 Streamlining. Translation. Greg was about to cut out non-essentials. Elaine smiled into her coffee. She was already the core. He didn't know. He had no clue. Some intern probably saw the supplier name on the old invoice, rubber-stamped it, and moved on completely unaware. Everything had been quietly rerouted through Porter Tech Solutions. It was perfect, like watching someone walk full speed into a glass door they installed themselves. Elaine forwarded the email to Mitch. Subject line: "Guess who just consolidated into me?" 2 hours later, the reply came. "Let's make it official. All routing contracts list Porter Tech as sole vendor starting next week. Want to draft the language." She leaned back in her cracked garage chair and let the silence settle. It wasn't joy, not exactly. It was something heavier. A slow exhale after holding your breath for years. Control. She finally had it. She drafted the announcement like a surgeon writes discharge instructions, precise, clean, no ego. Effective immediately, all bulk orders previously routed through supplier will now be processed exclusively via Porter Tech Solutions LLC in accordance with strategic fulfillment streamlining. She hit send. Somewhere in Greg's office, a procurement coordinator was about to have the worst Tuesday of their life, but it came with a price. That afternoon, her phone buzzed. A number she recognized. She let it ring, then waited as the voicemail came in. She hit play. "Hey, it's Naya from your old team. I know things ended messy, but we're drowning over here. That firmware bug from the last cycle, still unresolved. Greg's too busy screaming about supplier delays to notice the whole deployment's on fire. I think Gabe quit, just walked out." Elaine sat motionless. An hour later, another voicemail. "I'm sorry for how it all went down. You didn't deserve that. Just wanted you to know." She wanted to feel nothing. Keep this clean, keep it business. But part of her hurt. She remembered the bug she'd flagged it 3 weeks before she was fired. It was buried in legacy code Greg refused to phase out. "It still technically works," he'd said. She almost opened the repo. Almost. Then she remembered the Etsy for Nerds comment. In the cardboard box. No. This was the cost of dismissal. Of arrogance. Of treating builders like they were just background noise. Elaine added a quiet note to her whiteboard. "Do not intervene. Let it burn." That night, she packed a rush order for a small robotics startup. They actually emailed to thank her for including a printed pin-out diagram. She signed it with her initials and a tiny smiley face just to remind herself she wasn't becoming Greg in reverse. Control wasn't cruelty, but it came with a body count. And right now, Greg's production line was about to start hemorrhaging, time, money, and credibility. The kicker, he'd have to buy the tourniquet from her. It started with Thursday morning silence. Not the usual type. Not the pre-meeting calm. This was dead air. Why isn't anyone panicking yet silence? The kind that comes before a fire alarm or a stock price drop. Greg didn't notice. He was too busy rehearsing his investor pitch in front of the mirror, flattening his collar like it would fix his quarterly numbers. Then the knock. Sonia, customer ops, eyes twitchy, face pale. "Greg, we've got a situation." Within the hour, his inbox blew up. "Shipment delay urgent. Order hash 44A59 unconfirmed. Client escalation sensor modules MIA. Who the hell is Porter Tech Solutions? And why are they holding our inventory hostage?" Greg stormed through the office like a dad who just saw his minivan keyed. Procurement scrambled like ants under a magnifying glass. "Delayed?" he barked. Martin, trembling, held out a printout. The supplier pipeline for modules A17, C42, and M6S. It's been rerouted. Through a new distributor. Porter Tech. Who the hell is that? We thought it was a supplier rebrand. Specs were identical. Fulfillment was steady until now. Greg shoved past him and charged into his office. Slammed his MacBook open. Typed Porter Tech Solutions into Google like it owed him an apology. Top result. Porter Tech Precision Embedded Solutions. Human focus. Machine precision. Banner image Elaine, standing at her workbench. Calm. In control. Smiling. Lab coat half zipped. Smirking like she'd known this moment was inevitable. Status update posted 4 days ago. Proud to announce Porter Tech Solutions has secured exclusive distribution contracts for 3 core component lines. Grateful to our partners for believing in builders. Women in Tech. From garage to grid. Porter Tech launch. Greg sat motionless. No shouting, no keyboard smashing. Just a slow-burning realization settling into his jaw, his chest, his spine. He clicked into her profile. Recent activity lit up like a spotlight glowing. Industry buzz. CEOs commenting. Engineers resharing her product videos with captions like, "Finally, someone who actually gets it." Every scroll stung. Every like and comment was a reminder that the woman he dismissed, mocked, and publicly humiliated was now the reason his entire operation had flatlined. He switched over to Slack. Why wasn't I told about this vendor shift? Who approved this Martin routing ID stayed the same. They didn't announce a partner change. Fulfillment looked stable until now. Greg snapped, "So fix it. Call them. Reroute priority. Martin. We tried. They transferred us to their new rep. All requests go through legal now." Greg's palms broke out in sweat. His heart pounded. Legal. He redialed the old supplier contact. A robotic voice answered. "Thank you for calling. You are being redirected to our new distribution partner for embedded systems, Porter Tech Solutions. Please hold." Classical music began playing. Harpsichord. Almost mocking. Elaine always liked Baroque. Not in her garage anymore. Her office now. Elaine sat in her ergonomic chair. Eyes on her dashboard. Everything glowed green. Orders flowing. No issues. Clean. Her phone rang. The number was familiar. She didn't answer. She let it ring. Then it rang again, this time, routed through the distributor's redirect line. She smiled. The trap hadn't snapped with drama or blood, but with relevance. Let him wait. Let him wonder. Let the silence carry weight. Greg hadn't shaved in 3 days. His tie was crooked. His inbox blinked red. Deadlines loomed. Chat windows screamed for answers. And Elaine? She sipped her coffee and let it burn slow. Greg looked like a man trying to juggle Molotovs while blindfolded. That morning's board meeting had been short, surgical. No yelling, real power doesn't need to shout. They said things like, "You assured us continuity. Our reputation is bleeding. Fix this. Immediately." Greg, sweating through his button-down, nodded like a bobblehead wired to a car battery. His calendar had become a minefield. Client calls ghosted. Quarterly demo canceled. A European partner had dropped their site visit, no warning. Operations had no answers. Half the team looked like they were Googling early signs of professional collapse. Greg tried every contact at the old supplier. Nothing. Voicemails. Auto replies. Then finally, someone answered. A general support agent. He didn't wait for the greeting. "I need to escalate a reroute enterprise tier. Components aren't fulfilling. It's critical." "Of course, sir. One moment. Transferring you to our embedded systems distribution partner." "No, I don't need a partner. I need clearance." "Understood. Transferring now." Click. 2 rings. Porter Tech Solutions. Elaine speaking. His throat dried up. Like chewing sand. No venom in her voice. No bitterness. Just calm, the kind of calm you only earn by surviving a storm and building a skyscraper from the wreckage. He froze, then cleared his throat. "Elaine, I need to speak with your logistics lead about an urgent fulfillment issue." "You're calling about your backlog," she replied calmly, cutting him off. "Yes. We flagged the issue. I don't know where the miscommunication happened. This is serious. We've got contracts on the line. I'm authorizing expedited routing." "There's no miscommunication?" "Greg," she said, voice like polished steel. "All fulfillment now routes through us, exclusively. That includes inventory control scheduling and client tier priorities." He gripped the edge of his desk. "You can't block our pipeline. I'll get legal involved." "You should," she said evenly. "All inquiries now go through them." Silence. Greg opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Elaine didn't gloat. And she didn't hang up. She let the weight of her words sit on his chest like a concrete slab. For a long moment, Greg could hear nothing but his own heartbeat uneven loud, like panic trapped in a drum. Somewhere outside his office, someone was shouting about a misrouted export form. He didn't move. Elaine's voice remained steady, almost gentle. We reserve the right to refuse service to clients who terminate in bad faith. Clause 12.6. You signed it when you consolidated. His voice cracked. You're not serious. I'm methodical, she said. The line lingered. Just breath on the wire. No anger, no drama. Then a soft click. No goodbye. No echo. Just silence. And in that silence, Greg sat alone staring down the full consequence of every arrogant choice. Every time he ignored her value. Every time he called her overhead. Every time he humiliated her in front of people who now answered to her. The panic didn't scream anymore. It just settled. Thick, permanent. Elaine never practiced her power in a mirror. She rehearsed it under mounting brackets and thermal diagnostics, muttering it between bites of leftover chili at 1:30 a.m., with a wrench in her back pocket. Every time she said it, it sharpened cleaner, calmer. Not cruel. Inevitable. So when Greg's call finally came through the proper legal channels, timestamped, logged, routed twice, Elaine picked up without hesitation. No hold music, no soft intro. Elaine with Porter Tech Solutions. She heard him breathe. That was all. I've reviewed everything, with legal, Greg said, voice clipped. I'm prepared to reestablish, under a non-exclusive agreement. Elaine closed her eyes, not from nerves, but to absorb it. The weight of hearing a man who once called her replaceable now sound like he was asking for oxygen. She didn't rush. She let the silence stretch. Then calmly, we reserve the right to refuse service to clients who terminate in bad faith. Future inquiries must go through legal. Silence. Then a thud, maybe a phone slipping, a chair creaking, no voice. Elaine waited. He said nothing. She ended the call with a soft click, like turning out a light in a house she no longer lived in. It was Julius, one of the junior ops managers who always wore mismatched socks and avoided eye contact, who sent the message. You just spoke to him, right? Yeah. He hasn't said a word since, just staring at the wall. Even the interns are scared. Elaine didn't reply. She leaned back in her chair. The good one. Not the creaky folding thing from the garage days. Oh, her new office smelled like fresh plastic and ambition. Custom shelves were fully stocked. Her team's Slack was buzzing with live orders. Her inbox overflowed with partnership interest from 3 regional distributors. And yet, for just a moment, she did nothing. No celebration, no smug grin, no mic drop, just a breath. This wasn't revenge. This was confirmation that she had been right all along, that she'd always been the pipeline, that the voice Greg tried to dismiss was now the only one with the power to say no. And she had said it not with fury, not with spectacle, but with the precision of a scalpel, where he'd expected a sledgehammer, and he had no defenses left. The leak dropped quietly. No teaser, no lead-up, just a 6-minute MP3 titled Bad Faith. Internal call with terminated engineer. It detonated across forums by noon. Industry Reddit exploded. Some doubted it at first until one user matched the voice print to Greg's internal comms. Another screenshot confirmed Elaine's voice log signature embedded in the distributor metadata. The clip hit hardest at timestamp 0421. We reserve the right to refuse service to clients who terminate in bad faith. Future inquiries must go through legal. Then came the long silence, the shuffle, the click. People didn't just hear it, they felt it. Startup CEOs played it over coffee. Engineers turned it into memes. A supply chain TikToker edited it over boxes labeled accountability. By Thursday, Greg had vanished. The company issued a vague press release. We appreciate Greg's leadership. He will be taking a leave of absence. Translation, fired by Friday. The board brought in a silver-haired interim COO. Investors circled demanding stability and vision. No one said Elaine's name, but everyone thought it. Her inbox overflowing. She declined every request. She wasn't turning down speaking requests out of spite, just out of schedule. The pipeline was expanding into the Pacific Northwest. Her team had doubled in 3 weeks. She needed more warehouse space, not applause. Still, on some nights, Elaine would replay the leaked call. Not for ego, not for vindication. She listened for data, for tone, for the weight of her own voice measured and calm. One evening, while restocking bins with her newly appointed ops lead, Gabe, now fully poached from Greg's old company and thriving, she broke into a laugh. What he asked, raising an eyebrow. Elaine held up a metal plaque still wrapped in thin, protective plastic. Custom engraving delivered that morning, Porter Tech Solutions, born from a pathetic hobby. She didn't hang it behind her desk. She set it front and center, right on top of the main cabinet. Perfectly positioned so every vendor, contractor, intern, and partner saw it the moment they stepped into her office. Because that's what it had been, right? Just a hobby, a tinkerer's distraction, something Greg thought was silly enough to fire her over. And now it was the artery half the region's infrastructure pulsed through. Elaine looked out the window of her new office. No glass walls, she hated those, just real ones. Lined with tools within arm's reach, wires coiled neatly, shelves labeled, and a whiteboard filled with ideas that no one would laugh at this time. She picked up her headset, prepping for the next vendor call. Paused, and under her breath she muttered with a grin, "Funny how the same voice they tried to silence is now the one they have to call to survive." Then, leaning back in her chair with a half smile, she added softly, "Appreciate you sticking around, you wise old rebels." She clicked to open the call. "If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Tell me, have you ever been underestimated, overlooked, fired for being too passionate, too prepared, too different? Drop a comment below. I read them. And if this story reminds you that quiet power matters, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're one of the ones who keeps showing up even when they tell you you're replaceable. My advice, don't burn bridges. Build your own network beneath them. The moment they try to bury, you might be the same moment you realize you were the foundation all along.